Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Richard Bravo. I'm here with Becky Lewis today from Dream Vacations. Becky, would you like to say anything to your audience to start?
Yeah, thanks, Richard. I just want to say thank you to everyone for taking the time to join us tonight. And before we get started, I want to take a very quick moment, sorry about my dogs in the background, to share why you should use a travel agent, because I get asked this question a lot. And there are many reasons why you should use a travel agent, but I believe the top reasons are that you can get the best prices as well as value for your dollar that you have worked so hard for. And we have exclusive offers and added amenities that you won't find anywhere else, even if you book directly. I also give you options to customize your trip to your specific needs, so your trip is exactly the way you want it. We're travel experts. We have the latest inside information on the travel industry, and we offer peace of mind by making sure that you have the right travel insurance to protect you and your family. And travel agents also save you a lot of time, because on average, it takes about 5 hours for someone to plan their own vacation. I do that for you, saving you the frustration and time, so you can spend that time with your family, walking your dog, or playing around a golf. I can provide inside tips and recommendations, but most importantly, I am just a phone call away if you happen to run into any issues at all while traveling, no matter the time of day or night. And you're going to get directly through to me. You're not having to press a bunch of different options on your phone, hoping to get right through to the right person to handle your issue. I act on your behalf with the airlines, cruise lines, resorts, and so on to get issues resolved quickly. And I pride myself in providing very personalized service that you just won't get when you book online or through a call center. And finally, I want to debunk the biggest myth of all about travel agents, which is that it costs you money to use us. And that just isn't the case. It does not cost any money at all to use a travel agent. And you do not pay a higher rate because you've used a travel agent. Travel agents like me save you money and time. There's no strings attached, no hidden fees. So with that being said, let's get on to the fun part of the night and exploring how wonderful and amazing a river cruise with AmaWaterways really is. So I'm going to hand it back over to Richard for a little bit.
Great. Thank you so much, Becky. And we always like to start at AmaWaterways with this thank you slide. One, just to our audience, thank you so much for joining us. We know there's some other things you could be doing this evening and other ways to spend your time. And also to Becky, just for putting this together and getting some folks to join, and just her interest in being able to share this with her audience. I completely agree with everything that Becky said. I've been in the travel industry for a total of 25 years this year. And just the value that travel advisors bring is just tremendous. So I just want to echo all those sentiments and just start moving through the presentation now. So beginning with this slide, I'd like to share just a little bit about the company of AmaWaterways. So family owned and operated for 18 years this year. And the gentleman we're looking at over here on the left is Rudy Schreiner, his beautiful wife, Christine Karst, our co-founders, and then along with Gary Murphy, Senior Vice President and co-owner. And I'll begin with Gary just to share a few tidbits. Gary's been in the industry for a number of years because he's really grown up in the travel industry. It was actually Gary's father, Jimmy Murphy, the late Jimmy Murphy, who is actually one of the original co-owners along with Christine and Rudy. He started another tour operator company back in the day called Brendan Tours. And so he's been around for quite a while. Since he passed, Gary has joined the team as our Vice President of Sales. But Christine, she's also coming from an extensive background, primarily in hospitality and things. And she is really the face of AmaWaterways. She's that person, just like that we see in this image, those people that kind of everything they say, they're wearing this smile. That really is Christine. And Rudy, her husband, is the, he actually likes to say, I build the ships and she fills the ships. And this is really true because Rudy is an architect by trade. He's designed all the ships that we have on the waters that AmaWaterways owns. He was actually the first vice president, he was actually the vice president of Uniworld, which was another river cruise company years ago. This is back in '95 at the time that the Main Danube Canal was dredged. And it was actually at that time that he just really realized there's some opportunities with river cruising. So he got Uniworld to really start putting it on their map and building out some river cruise programs. He was actually the first president of Viking River Cruise that I think everybody is quite familiar with. and was with them for a number of years, and then decided to go out on his own and build AmaWaterways. So he started that again with Christine and Jimmy. So just want to share a little bit of that background, and I may touch on a few things related to Rudy and that background as well going through here. But I wanted to also include this quote, and this slide and the next couple of slides are just included here because they're really relevant to everything that's going on. We didn't want to spend a ton of time on this, but these are some things that people are asking and they want to be aware of too. So this quote by Rudy says, all AmaWaterways owned vessels are paid for. Even this year's new build Ama Sienna with Ama Lucia set to arrive in 2021. The last 10 ships were paid in cash, saving a lot of money besides interest and lots of other fees. We pay as we go. There's no debt on any of our ships. I can sleep at, with everything going on. We know that there's a lot of people out of work, not just in the travel industry, but just across the board. This has just been something that Rudy's actually planned for this for a number of years. He thought that it was going to be something where the waters were going to be low in Europe, and he just had to kind of brace himself financially. As it turns out, it's COVID. But with that, I'm proud to be able to work for this company. I'm proud to still be working full time at this point in time. No one's been laid off from our company. No one's been furloughed. No one's been, had salaries reduced. So it just speaks to the overall strength of the company. Now, in terms of where we actually travel, getting into some of the fun stuff to hopefully get you guys to start dreaming just a little bit when you are able to travel. These are all the places that we go: 14 rivers and waterways, 23 countries, 33 itineraries, 3 continents. I would add to that. You can see from the map, the large majority, of course, are within Europe. That's where most of our itineraries are. That's where most of our vessels are. But we've got some really amazing exotic itineraries outside of that as well, with Africa, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of these, Asia, as well as Egypt. But just to spend a little bit of time in looking at the map specifically for Europe, one thing that I like to share and kind of speak to is, in terms of the popularity of the different itineraries, Mekong in Asia is extremely popular. Egypt, which we're just releasing, is proven to already be really popular. It's going to be coming out in September of 2021. But based on, if we're looking solely at Europe, the Danube River and the Rhine River are hands down the most popular itineraries. And because of that, we have the most inventory on those 2 rivers. So majority of our ships are going to be on those rivers, and our ships that are on those rivers are going to be a little bit larger. But even having said that, it's very different from ocean cruising. So we're, ocean cruises, of course, you can have thousands of guests on a single ship. This is much more intimate, of course. Our largest vessel, which was actually just built last year, and I'll talk a little bit more about that one in detail further into the presentation, that one holds 196 guests in total. On average, though, on the Danube and the Rhine, you're looking somewhere about 170, between 165 and 170. As you move a little bit further west and you get into those French waterways, it's a little bit more intimate. Think more in lines of about like 140 guests if you're maxed out. And then when you get into Portugal, it's more in line of about just over 100, so about 104 guests too. So just want to share some of those little quick insights. If this is your first river cruise, any choice is going to be a great one, but I think there really is something to see in the Danube and the Rhine, and then kind of building up to those ones that are a little bit more unique or a little bit more exotic, if you will. But we wanted just to give you a brief overview on a few things. So I've just selected a few different itineraries, again, just to give you a really basic idea of some of the things you can choose from. So Romantic Danube is one of our itineraries, a wonderful 7-night sailing that operates between Vilshofen down to Budapest. And all of our itineraries operate both directions if they're not set up as round trip. Also, with all of our itineraries, you can add a pre-package or a post-package. And what's really nice with those is that our cruise manager, who's on board the vessel, will actually join our guests before and afterwards. So it really kind of helps in to start to build some of the rapport with the clients. But you can see just with this itinerary, all the countries that we're passing through, 5 different countries, all the different stops along the way. In terms of itineraries on the Danube, the Romantic Danube is just one of 6. We have 5 others. And then in addition to that, we have 2 other itineraries that touch upon the Danube, but then continue across on the Moselle River and then crossing over into the Rhine River also. So a number of options to kind of take in this particular area. The Bordeaux region, of course, would be one example of our French waterways, wonderful itinerary right here that we're looking at. So between the Dordogne and the Garonne River, you can just see how they kind of meet up in the Gironde area right there. And where they actually meet, it forms the left and right bank of the Bordeaux region, and you actually get these two really wonderful distinctive wines on each of those different banks. But this is certainly one of the favorites within our French waterways, which is why I wanted to include it here. But again, 7-night round trips with some wonderful pre and post options for all these. There'll be like some evening city lights tours, city tours. I'll talk more about the excursions, but again, just want to give you an idea in terms of the number of itineraries that we operate on in France. For 2021, we have a total of 5 different ones that we're operating on. We added a new one over to the Rhone River that takes in both the Rhone and the Saône River, and we added another one over to the Seine River as well. The enticing Douro is another example here of where we travel. So in the Douro, we're actually, we've got 2 different itineraries. One of them is a round trip from Porto, which is the example that we're seeing here. But then we have another one that actually sails from Porto into Spain also, kind of going east and westbound with that too. So again, some wonderful options, but this takes you into where you're going to taste some port wines. So very different from the rest of Europe. If you're into wine tasting, a number of these things, and I'll talk more about the wines, are really kind of catered around the wine experience. But very different also, the Douro River, from some of the other waterways in other parts of Europe, because in a lot of the other parts of Europe, we'll pull up in a number of cities, but in many instances, those are kind of the main destinations that we're going to. It's a little bit different on the Douro River, where outside of Porto, we're stopping in some really small ports, and then maybe we're transferring over to some larger areas, or transferring over to where some other vineyards are and things like that. So you really get to take in a lot of the landscape with this. Very steep hillsides, you're passing, castles and vineyards all along the way. And when you put this together with how I'm gonna share with you what it's like on board the ship, you can just put it all together and just see how wonderful it is, an experience it is. I talked about our wine sailings. We have dedicated wine departures that we call our celebration of wine sailings. And on each of those, we bring a wine host who's basically the VIP for those sailings. With that, he'll be leading special excursions. He'll be leading special discussions, doing wine pairings and wine tastings. Maybe you'll take an excursion out to centuries-old wine cellar, and you'll be doing a tasting there. But that's just kind of a general idea of these. We started doing these not too long ago, probably not more than 6 or so years ago at the most. We started off with somewhere about a dozen. Last year, we had about 69 wine-themed departures. Unfortunately, we had to cancel some sailings this year, but going into this year, we had actually boosted that up to about 72 departures. So again, these are really, really popular, really exciting. We get some really big names from like, Lower Vineyards, and we have a departure that it was set to sail this year. We're moving it to next year if you enjoy your Bogle wine. So look for some of those really good ones to choose from, and maybe even to block some group space on if you're thinking about that also with Becky. The other exciting thing are our Christmas markets. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Europe during a Christmas market, but they're amazing. You're in these historic, iconic cities, with these, old, church towers, just like we see right here. There's a lot of people. They certainly get crowded, but the food is great. The smells in the air are great. You have your, hot wine that you're drinking, your hot chocolates, thanks to the local artisans. So we'll stop for our Christmas markets, and we got about 4 different itineraries. They operate exclusively at this time on the Rhine and the Danube, but some really wonderful options to choose from there. And I'd say definitely keep that one on your list. So I kind of included those ones, the wine and the Christmas markets after the Europe sailings, because those ones are specific to Europe. But if we're looking outside to some of the more exotic ones right here, Riches of Mekong is a wonderful example. We've got 2 different itineraries to the Mekong. It's a 7-night cruise, but we've got a number of different package extensions that you can do. These are really immersive experiences, from visiting local schools in the area and being able to spend some time with the students and teachers, to maybe having dinner at one of the locals' homes in one of those stilted houses. So these are some of the things that we offer there. But then you have the luxurious accommodations of your river cruise to come back to. We have our wonderful partners if you wanted to stay and do a pre or post night at the Sophie Hotel. So all these things come together. You can extend that 7-night sailing all the way out to 16 days if you wanted to, and really take in some of the additional sites around the area. The Chobe River is another really, really popular one. For this one, if there's any interest, I would say start planning at least 15 to 18 months in advance, because these ones book up pretty far out. This is actually a 4-night cruise, safari cruise that our guests go on. But from that, you can actually extend this all the way out to 19 days. You can take a rowless rail trip, which is basically this old wonderful steam engine, take that all the way up to enjoy Victoria Falls, spend some time in Johannesburg. We have a gorilla trekking that takes you out to Rwanda if you wanted to do that. So a number of really wonderful things that you can do. And again, one that should remain at the top of everybody's bucket list, I would say. This one I mentioned earlier, just introduced, so we'll be launching this next year in September. It's a 7-night sailing round trip from Luxor, or Secrets of Egypt and the Nile, where you can add, again, some wonderful pre and post night stays in Cairo, where we work with the Four Seasons property. But if you want to extend your package even beyond that, we have land extensions to take you into Israel, where you can spend some time in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, sites over at the Dead Sea, Jordan, taking in Petra. And while it cuts it off with this example, but we also have where you can spend some time in the UAE and go over to Abu Dhabi and Dubai as well too. So this one, as I mentioned earlier, really popular. We've already started blocking a lot of group space on this one and taking some early reservations for late 21 as well as into 22 already. So I spent a little bit of time talking about a few of the destinations that we travel to, just to give you an idea of what all those options look like. But this is going to be your transportation, right? So you can see how different it is from some of the large cruise ships. Very small, very intimate, some amazing accommodations. And unlike some of the large ocean cruises, which I've done, I've enjoyed that experience. But on the large ocean cruises, that is the destination in many instances, with so many things that they have on board. The river cruise ship is not that way. It's your luxury floating hotel. It's your means of transportation from one point to the next point. But while you're on board, it's the best service that you're going to receive. Amazing cuisine that you're going to receive. Some wonderful discussions in the evenings, some beautiful evening entertainment, but you've got the luxury of having land on both sides. So there's always something beautiful in view. The castles, the vineyards, these small towns, people cycling, right next to you, going through all the different locks. In some cases where literally as you pull up into town, you step right off into these cobblestone streets. So that right there is very different from ocean cruising, where you can cruise up to a continent, but with river cruising, you literally cruise right through the continent on these, riverways that people have been using for centuries and centuries to get by and to transfer and to trade and all the things along the waterways. But some of the things that make AmaWaterways really special also is the people. This is an acronym that Christine actually came up with, FLEPS, and it speaks to the family, love, enthusiasm, passion, and sparkle, really for all the people that they bring on board to represent them. But I would say more specifically with our crew on board, because these are the ones engaging with your guests, really making that impression with them, from the hotel manager to the cruise manager that I mentioned before, to all the servers in the restaurant. I can tell you firsthand from having been on board that they're not looking to just offer excellent service. They're looking to go beyond what's even that, because I can tell you honestly and sincerely, and with full respect to all our peers out there in the industry, they're going to have wonderful products. They're going to be giving good service. They're going to be offering really good food. But the reason that we've won more awards than any other river cruise line out there, the reason that our ships have been rated higher than any other river cruise is out there, are for these type of things. So it's not just kind of hitting that expected standard, but it's really going beyond and above that. Our cruise managers that I mentioned earlier also make up a really big part of that. So I talked about what's unique to AmaWaterways, or maybe I didn't mention that, but that is unique to AmaWaterways, where they will join you before and after the cruise. So again, they're building that rapport. By the time you're on board the ship, you've already come to really know one another. But we get so many requests for people that say, I was on board last year, I want to take a group next year, but I don't want to go unless I know that I get Rachel as my cruise manager. Those sort of relationships are so frequent that we have a place we can send all of these type of requests, so that when they're building out our cruise manager schedules, they'll do their very best to match up those requests to get them scheduled to sail with those people that want to go on that sailing date. So again, that's just something I think is really notable. In terms of some of the innovations on board, again, this is kind of where Rudy comes back to the conversation, because this is all part of his design and his thoughts in coming up with what was unique to us. The first ones in the industry, I think a few others have followed, with the twin balcony staterooms, where you get the beautiful French balcony that we see on the right side with that really nice sitting area, but then you still have the advantages of the full step out balcony to the left side. So if you think about the weather and the time that you're traveling. If you're going to the Christmas markets, of course, it's going to be a bit cooler. If you're in the middle of summer, maybe a bit warmer. You always have the ability to just stay in your stateroom with that window that's close up to the railing. You still get some amazing views, but you can be in the comfort, and that nice temperature in your own room. But you can still open the windows up if it's, cools down a little bit later. But you still have the advantage of the outdoor balcony, the full step-out balcony. So if you're going optimal weather, have coffee out there, some tea in the afternoon, some wine in the evening. So we really offer you the best of both. I would also point out the Apple computers that we have in all of our staterooms. We're really committed to keeping all of our guests connected, so you can leave your laptop at home, just take advantage of our Apple computer. I'll talk a little bit more about the Wi-Fi a few slides down the way. This is a look at what one of our typical lounges looks like. So it's our panoramic lounges. These are located in the front of the ship. Beautiful floor to ceiling windows. It's kind of the living room, the gathering place, if you will, of the ship. This is where everybody comes to congregate. If they don't want to enjoy the main dining room for breakfast, they can come up here, grab a croissant, maybe grab a coffee, or if they had a heavy breakfast, they can come up here and maybe just grab a light sandwich and some tea in the afternoon. But it's also the place where in the evening, we have a dedicated pianist who's playing piano in the evening, taking requests. The cruise manager is giving lectures in the evening of the places you're going to stop at the next day, what the shore excursions are going to look like, and that you can choose from, of course. And then beyond that, it turns into the place where we have our evening entertainment. So one example would be when we're in Vienna, we'll bring on some classical musicians to play for the evening. Or if we're in Rudesheim, Germany, we may bring on some local folklore dancers. So this place is also used for that onboard entertainment. But with that, I would also mention, based on the how much there is to see in certain ports, we may overnight in some certain ports also. So then on top of this entertainment and maybe that evening lecture, you'll still have the ability to go out and spend some time in the evening walking around town, see the city lights, get a late dinner if you want. So all these are different options that you have with the river cruise. Complimentary high-speed wireless internet. This is available in every public area and of course within your stateroom as well. And a lot of people find this fascinating, but it is true that in Europe, we spent more on our bandwidth than we spent on fuel for all of our European departures. So we're really committed to keeping our guests connected. When guests book, they actually have the ability to download an AmaWaterways app. It's a very easy to download, just some basic information that you include there. Once you've done that, you can include your family's and friends' email addresses. And what it does is once you started your trip, it will automatically push out updates to the friends and families that you've listed there. So it'll say, Becky's arrived in Strasbourg, and it'll give an overview of what Becky's going to be able to see in Strasbourg that day, and maybe what some of the different tour options are going to be. And if she posts pictures to that app, it'll automatically push that out to her friends and family as well, too. So just a nice way to stay engaged and connected, let people know you're safe and what you're doing, but hopefully inspire some other people to consider taking a river cruise trip as well. We have heated pools on board all of our vessels as well too. This wonderful, nice pop-up bar, but you can just see the decor, right? This wonderful, beautiful boutique style. We can tell from this picture, if you kind of look past the windows, that they're docked at this time. So this is probably a day that we had a full day in port, maybe even overnighting. So you can just really leisurely enjoy yourself here and then spend some time running around afterwards. So you really get the option to do both. The drinks are on us, and I really want to explain this properly because we get asked the question, is it an all-inclusive experience? Because drinks are technically not included across the board. We're not all-inclusive. So what that means is that drinks are not included after the lunch hour up until the cocktail hour in the evening, and then again after dinner. But I will say there's a lot of drinks that are included. So if you enjoy the champagne mimosa like I do on the weekends at least, we serve that in the mornings. If you want your premium wines and beer, we're serving that at the welcome reception, the farewell reception, at lunch, at the cocktail hour each evening, at dinner. And I would add to that our servers are extremely generous. If they see that you've taken one drink, they're coming around to see if they need to refill you again. So I always enjoy an after dinner drink. I'll make sure they top it off before I leave and take it up to the lounge and hang out and visit a little bit longer too. But I just wanted to share that. And I also want to emphasize the importance of my choosing the word premium, because we're not serving you house wines and then charging you more for a more desirable wine. We're going to start off with those premium wines that are local to the areas that we're visiting. So again, we start you off with the best right there. Multiple dining venues that we have here. This is a look at our Chef's Table restaurant. It's an alternative dining experience. And when you get on board, you would make your reservations to dine here. There's no additional cost for this, however. It's a beautiful 7-course meal, 3 to 4 different wine pairings, floor-to-ceiling windows that we see here located at the back of the ship. Catching the sun, that sunset evening is just amazing. You can see the chef's station in here behind the glass where they're preparing the meals, plating the meals, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience. I encourage anybody that books this to take advantage of this. Different from the main dining room, the main dining room operates more as a progressive dining experience, right? So when you're in Budapest, as an example, you may find goulash on the menu. So we keep that regional to the places we're going. However, if you want that staple meal, if you want that steak, if you want that maybe that chef salad, we'll have that on the menu for you to choose from every evening also. Award-winning dining, you know, I mentioned earlier that every other cruise partner out there is going to have some good meals on board. But one thing, again, that sets AmaWaterways apart is there's a society called the La Chaîne de Rôtisseurs Society. Dates back to 1248. It operated for over 4 centuries before it stopped for a period of time and came back in the mid-1900s. But you cannot request to be a part of this society. You just have to be given that designation, and we're proud to have this designation on board every one of our river cruise ships. And it speaks to the preparation. It speaks to the fact that we locally source things along the entire way. It speaks to, you know, just the presentation and everything. We have a freezer on board, and this statement is also true that that's used for the ice cream, because everything else we're picking up is so fresh and preparing it daily that we don't need the freezer for that. So again, something unique to us that I really just want to make sure I pointed out. Also, we include 3 to 4 shore excursions at every stop. So we give you an option. We're not going to give you one large city tour where there's going to be, you know, maybe 50, 60 people joining that one. These are going to be smaller, more intimate groups because people are choosing different ones that they're most interested in. The gentle one that we offer would be something that maybe takes in fewer steps, is a little bit slower pace, maybe for someone that has mobility issues. The regular one would be a little bit quicker, picking up the pace, maybe you know, going a little bit further to explore some of the highlights. The active one would be something from a guided hiking tour to a guided cycling tour that we see in the picture over here to the left. We do have bicycles on board all of our ships between 22 to 25 typically, and you can use them for the guided cycling tour, or you can use them on your own just to pedal around town at your leisure. Only in the rare instance, if you're doing something really unique like evening concert in Vienna, would there be an additional charge for that? But those are far and few. We have very, very few of those. So again, majority are going to be included. We outfit our guests with an audio box, so they don't have to be right next to the director, the person who's leading the trip. They can be, you know, 40, 50 feet away and still listening to everything that's being said. We are also the leaders when it comes to health and wellness on board, with a gym on board every one of our vessels. So again, if you're leading that active lifestyle and you want to hit the gym every day, or if you like to get to the gym as often as you possibly can, at least you have that option where some other folks don't provide this. Again, we have the bicycles that I mentioned. We've also got a dedicated fitness instructor on board every one of our vessels, leading morning stretches, Pilates, yoga, things like that. So certainly keep this in mind. And I would add, in addition to this, for a nominal cost, if you wanted to get your hair done or if you wanted to get a massage, we offer those services as well. Sustainability, we're again leading in the industry. Our Ama Christina was the very first one in February of 2020 to earn the Green Award, and it just speaks to all the things that we see listed here. I won't go through each one of them, but our goal is to get this award for every one of our vessels. So we're very, very proud to be leading in that area. Ama Magna, I talked about the Ama Magna, and this again was Rudy's dream for a number of years, and it came true last year. You can see the size of this ship. Because it's so large, it operates exclusively on the Danube, which is the largest river, but the ship next to it is a typical river cruise ship that holds up to about 190 guests at maximum. The Ama Magna, by comparison, if you recall, holds 196 guests, so much more space on the Ama Magna. You know, we haven't crowded it with more staterooms. In addition to the 2 restaurants that you would normally get on board a regular river cruise vessel, we're going to have 4 restaurants on board the Ama Magna. So the main dining room, the chef's table restaurant, there's the alfresco restaurant located at the front of the ship where the front windows go down, the ceiling window retracts, you get this wonderful offshore river breeze. We have Jimmy's restaurant, restaurant and wine bar, which is a nod, of course, to our late co-founder Jimmy Murphy, where it's more like a family-style dining restaurant. So again, all these different options. If you've done ocean cruising, if you enjoyed river cruising, and have maybe thought of doing river cruising, this would be a great segue, because it's again, everything is going to be a bit more spacious for you. solo travelers, we get a lot of requests, asking about, is there a single supplement rate? If I want to travel alone, do I have to pay full price for 2 people? With our entry-level staterooms, guests would pay just an additional 25% more for traveling with AmaWaterways. If they wanted to stay in one of the twin balcony staterooms that we looked at earlier, that would be just 50% more, and only in the instance of them wanting to travel in a suite would they pay a full 100% more. And we'll work with them, we'll set up special excursions, invite them to a special like single traveler cocktail reception so they can meet some of the other travelers as well. So again, we make it as friendly as we can with the overall environment and how we assist them. And at this point, I did forget to mention this at the beginning, so my apologies, but if you have any questions, I would encourage you to drop them in the chat box here. And Becky, I don't know if you had anything else that you might want to add at this time?
I want to go back to the cruise managers. AMA has been conducting webinars each week for travel agents and introducing us to different cruise managers. And it's been absolutely wonderful to see how knowledgeable and how passionate they are about the different rivers that they are going on. They are just the most wonderful people, and they truly do make the experience, I think. So I think that's important. Also, I think another thing to note is the bikes, because I happen to have a cousin that bikes a lot, and I think he would love the idea that those bikes you were talking about, you can tootle around town in them, but you can also bike to the next port and meet the ship if you're really enthusiastic.
That's right. That's right. No, really good points. One more thing on the cruise managers, I mentioned they joined before and afterwards, and I don't recall if they shared this on the webinar too, but they don't go back to the same ship afterwards because they're already off schedule at that point. So what we do is send them off to join another pre-trip and then go on another cruise on another river on another ship with different staff, hitting new itineraries and new ports. So that's just increasing their knowledge all the way around. So when you talk about just like expertise, our cruise managers are certainly top notch. So that was something good to go back and point out. More, if we want to do a presentation on what all of our celebration and wine themed departures look like, or if you want to learn a little bit more about the Christmas markets or delve into a specific itinerary on the Danube or the Rhine, those are all things that we can look to do for you. If you think you might have a small group opportunity that you can work with Becky on, and please bring that to her also, because we're happy to meet with you offline and do something specific for that group as well.
Yeah, AMA has been wonderful with me with working with groups, because they are very willing to cater and some special requests and things like that. So they're really awesome in that regard. So yeah, if anybody has any groups they'd like that they have in mind, maybe you have a wine club that you belong to and you've been thinking about taking a cruise or something, or even you're just wanting to explore different areas right now while we can't necessarily travel right now, but we want to keep thinking about it and dream about when we get to travel again. I think this is a fun thing to do in the meantime.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the last thing that I would mention is that if by chance anybody is interested and says I want to start looking ahead and plan something for 2021, there's always different promotions that you can take advantage of. I won't get into the details of those right now. Becky does have access to all that, but in addition to that, I'm happy to offer an additional savings too of $100 per person. So any interest, again, reach out to Becky. And if anybody does want to type anything in the chat box, I have just a nice little giveaway that I'd like to offer. It's a beautiful AmaWaterways scarf and then a really nice gentleman's like golf cap too. So if anybody would like to enter the response in the chat box, my question would be, the Ama Magna, our newest ship, if you recall what the total guest capacity is from that vessel. So wait just a minute, see if anybody may reply.
I feel like I should have the going.
I'm sorry, Becky?
I feel like I should have the Jeopardy music going while we're waiting for them to answer.
I'm not sure if anybody's typing. I don't see a response just yet, but I might add also that, if you want to think about this and be the first one to email Becky, I'm still happy to offer that. Her contact information is here. her phone number, her email address. Again, I really encourage you to reach out to her if she doesn't follow with you first. This has been a recorded session as well, so she'll be provided the link that she can also share out with you. If you have some friends that you'd like to connect with and see if they want to listen in, that would be great as well. But I think, Becky, unless there's anything else that you'd like to add, I would just say thank you again for your time. Thank you, Becky, so much for helping to coordinate this. And we look forward to welcoming you on board sometime very soon.